The government, Sturgeon, Drakeford, the BBC and the Doomsday Duo are going to do all they can to cancel Christmas again, aren't they? And then January, and then February, and then probably Christmas 2022 while they're at it. As cases of Omicron, a variant that may well help to transform COVID-19 into nothing more than seasonal flu. But as the cases at the moment spread like wildfire, the push to terrify us all into staying home by stealth is in full force.
Wave of Omicron continues to roll in across the whole of our United Kingdom, with over 780,000 COVID cases today, the highest ever daily number reported.
This is a really serious threat at the moment. How big a threat? There are several things we don't know, but all the things that we do know are bad. And the principal one being the speed at which this is moving. It is moving at an absolutely phenomenal pace.
If now isn't the time for extra restrictions, when will be? And to both of the medics, can I ask you really straightforwardly, do you think it would be better if there were now more restrictions immediately, and should the public cut back on their Christmas plans?
The surge in boosting is not going to kick in for 3 or 4 weeks, but now is the moment when people are going to parties, they're going to the pub. Why aren't you more explicitly discouraging them from doing that?
So that's Peston, right, during the press conference telling us that we shouldn't be allowed to go to the pub. This is him before the press conference, not wearing his mask. And then, as you saw, the moment he went live on international television, the mask goes on. It's all theatre, folks. It's all theatre. I would say, too, after watching that, I've come to the conclusion the establishment really don't live in the real world. They are the elite, happy to be locked up and working from home in white-collar jobs because they live in expensive mansions in the country with highly paid tutors, able to educate their kids via Zoom. But Boris Johnson's humiliation by his own MPs yesterday should teach him one lesson. If he even thinks about locking us down again, his time as Prime Minister could be up. For months, our once swashbuckling Brexit hero has been controlled by doomsday sage advisors, cabinet COVID hysterics like Michael Gove and the former Health Secretary Matt Hancock, and a media that has realised fear sells. But he can no longer ignore the 100 brave Tory backbenchers who stood up to the man who secured so many of them their jobs in an election just 2 years ago. Only Theresa May suffered a bigger Tory rebellion since the war over Brexit. So surely, there can be no plan C now. We must learn to live with COVID once and for all, no matter how fast Omicron spreads. And we must stop ignoring the scientists who don't fit the panic now narrative. Folk like Robert Dingwall, a government COVID advisor from Nottingham Trent University. He's a sociology specialist who says Omicron may be no worse than an average annual flu pandemic. This is the words from him. The Omicron situation seems to be increasingly absurd. There is obviously a lot of snobbery about South African science and medicine, but their top people are as good as any you would find in a more universally developed country. They clearly don't feel the elite panic over here is justified, even allowing for the demographic differences and vulnerability, which are probably more than cancelled by the high vaccination rate. My gut feeling is that Omicron is very much like the sort of flu pandemic we planned for. A lot of sickness, absence from work in a short period, which will create difficulties for public service and economic activity, but not of such a severity as to be a big problem for the NHS and the funeral business. Look, that's not to say we won't take the massive increase in cases seriously, but it has to be down to personal responsibility and sensible guidance, not terrifying propaganda and new laws. Take regular tests, sure. Wear a mask if you want to, but it provides no path out of this nightmare. Get boosted now, as their slogan reads. Absolutely, if you feel comfortable to do so. Protect the most vulnerable, definitely. But it's now up to us to stop this 20-month COVID merry-go-round from hell, because our leaders are never going to. The Queen is planning to keep calm and carry on with her Christmas plans with sensible measures in place. Everyone else should follow her lead and do the same.